Now that Democrats have control of half of Congress and they're about to hold the first hearing on American gun violence in 8 years, one tree that might shake a little bit is the National Rifle Association, which Congressman Adam Schiff, the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, just mentioned moments ago. The NRA, of course, is a legendary organization. It's like the classic modern American case study in terms of political power, money, and lobbying force. But it turns out if you shake the NRA's tree these days, it kind of just falls over on top of you. Timber. I mean, whatever's going on with the NRA right now, it is not what it used to be. I mean, their finances have apparently collapsed in the last couple of years. They had started an NRA TV network, which is a very high-profile thing. That apparently is imploding. There have been reports that they are trying to save some money at headquarters by even taking away the free coffee machine for their employees. Their spending on the last election was absolutely upside down from previous history. In all previous elections, the NRA absolutely dominated spending for anybody who was donating money on issues of gun reform and gun rights. This year, they were vastly outspent by people on the other side of their issue. But then there's this, quote, NRA seeks distance from Russia as investigations heat up. It's from the New York Times this week. Quote, when a delegation of high-profile donors, boosters, and board members from the NRA traveled to Russia in 2015, they visited a gun factory in Moscow, took in a ballet, and met with members of Vladimir Putin's inner circle. But now, the NRA is seeking to distance itself from that trip after revelations that a Russian woman who helped arrange it, Maria Butina, was conspiring to infiltrate the organization. The NRA's lawyer telling the Times this week that the NRA's chief executive, Wayne LaPierre, was opposed to that trip. He forbade NRA staff members to go to Russia, says his lawyer now. The NRA president at the time of the trip now says, oh, I was also opposed to the Russia trip, just like Wayne was. Yes, we both knew it was a terrible idea. The Times rather dryly notes, quote, given Mr. LaPierre's power within the organization, it's unclear how such a trip would have proceeded at all, despite his opposition to it. I mean, and you can understand why the NRA might now want to disavow that 2015 Moscow trip. I mean, the public narrative of why they took the trip was always weird enough. I mean, the narrative about this trip was that the NRA guys went to Moscow to make connections with a Russian gun rights group that mysteriously had been blessed by Vladimir Putin's political party. Now, in reality, here on Earth One, there is no gun rights movement in Russia, certainly not one sanctioned by the powers that be, right? Not one that would be headed up by high-ranking members of Putin's political party like the people who hosted the NRA delegation in Russia. So the cover story never made sense in the first place. And of course, now we know for certain that the trip was a Russian intelligence operation, because the woman who ran that supposed gun rights organization has pled guilty in the United States to acting as a secret agent of the Russian government, using gun rights as a pretense to infiltrate American conservative circles through the NRA. Maria Butina has pled guilty. She is now cooperating with federal prosecutors. Court filings would seem to indicate that she has testified multiple times before at least one grand jury. Ms. Butina's American boyfriend, who is essentially her unnamed co-conspirator in her indictment, he is also reportedly in prosecutor sights and has received a target letter from prosecutors. There are inquiries into the NRA's ties to Russia from Congress and from the FBI and from Special Counsel Robert Mueller. And, you know, it's one thing, and it might explain the little freak out happening right now at the NRA, if all of these innocent NRA folks who just wanted a tour of a Russian gun factory and a trip with this nice Russian lady, if it turns out they were all duped by Russian intelligence and they had no idea what this is all about. But the more we learn, and what we have just learned today shows us that actually there's really no chance they were duped at all. And the more we see about what happened in that relationship, the more we can see about whatever was going on with America's great gun rights group and the Russian government, it is weirder than they've ever admitted to before. We've got that story next. Stay with us.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.